Without objection, so ordered. The Senate is adjourned.
I have a constitutional responsibility to be a juror in the impeachment trial of Donald Trump.
The U.S. senators who are running for president flock to Iowa as soon as President Trump's impeachment trial adjourns for the weekend. They have 48 hours to campaign. And the First in the Nation caucus is just over a week away. Meanwhile, in spite of the impeachment trial, the president's re-election campaign is in full swing.
The American people are disgusted by the Washington Democrat wish, and you see it. Which is worse, the impeachment hoax or the witch hunts from Russia?
I love my country and our Constitution. I will argue that our Constitution and its terms, high crimes and misdemeanors, do not encompass the two articles charging abuse of power and obstruction of Congress.
Will Republicans call in witnesses, or will there be a swift acquittal?
All right, here we are. It's week 2 of the impeachment trial. We are into what is the second day of the president's defense team and their presentation, but their presentation got a little bit rocked on Sunday night when the New York Times confirmed the reports that John Bolton's book, the former national security advisor who is writing a book about his days inside the Trump White House, would include dozens upon dozens of pages outlining what he experienced regarding the Ukraine campaign.
Senate leaders from both sides reacted to Bolton's book on Tuesday morning. Up first, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer.
Ambassador Bolton essentially confirms the president committed the offenses charged in the first article of impeachment.
Two Republicans, Senator Mike Braun and Senate Republican Conference Chair John Barrasso, send mixed messages, saying the book isn't worth the excitement, but that it could influence how their party votes on hearing from witnesses.
I think there's going to be something new coming out every day, very similar to what we saw in the Kavanaugh trial.
But I'm not going to deny it's going to change the decibel level and probably the intensity at which we go about talking about witnesses. We're not going to overturn one election and prevent another. Thank you.
Thanks.
Where's Senator Lindsey Graham?
He was surrounded by press on the first floor, couldn't get up.
They like that.
Senators, happy Monday.
While the public gets to see senators and both legal teams from a single video feed inside the chamber, most senators at the trial are out of view. Inside the Senate chamber, Trump's legal team includes 8 high-profile attorneys who outline a wide array of defenses against Trump's alleged abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. Kenneth W. Starr is a familiar face because in 1998, he was the independent counsel who investigated President Bill Clinton's impeachment case. Trump's team largely avoids the topic of Bolton's book.
Those of us who lived through the Clinton impeachment, including members of this body, full well understand that a presidential impeachment is tantamount to domestic war, albeit a war of words and a war of ideas. But it's filled with acrimony and it divides the country like nothing else.
Quid pro quo alone is not a basis for abuse of power. It's part of the way foreign policy has been operated by presidents since the beginning of time.
Trump's team also brings in Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz, who provided commentary during Clinton's impeachment. White House counsel Pat Cipollone is leading President Trump's defense team.
They have been trying to impeach the president from the moment of his inauguration for no reason.
Today's Trump presentation has dramatically shifted in tone.
Years later now, former Vice President Biden publicly details what we know happened: his threat to withhold more than $1 billion in loan guarantees, unless Shokin was fired.
They shifted gears and they've gone into a more aggressive offensive posture in which they're trying to really prosecute the case against Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. We've really hit a sort of turning point in the trial and not sure where it's going to go.
Please be seated. If there is no objection, the Journal of Proceedings of the trial are approved to date. The Majority Leader is recognized.
We expect several hours of session today with probably one quick break.
President Trump's lawyers wrap up their defense presentation in just 2 hours on Tuesday. They reiterate much of what Trump has said himself.
To remove a duly elected president, which is what you're being asked to do, in essentially policy disagreements. They didn't like there was a pause on foreign aid. I laid out before that there was pauses on all kinds of foreign aid. It's not the first president to do it.
Some Republicans agree with Dershowitz that witnesses aren't necessary,
There is no conflict here.
while another group of GOP senators isn't convinced.
The criteria that I offer, I have long called the shoe on the other foot test. As a thought experiment, I respectfully urge each of you to imagine that the person being impeached were of the opposite party of the current president, but that in every other respect, the facts were the same.
I am pretty sure that there were Republicans. If President Obama had done any of this, he would have been impeached so fast your head would spin.
Thank you.
Hey.
So, Mr. Chief Justice, I ask unanimous consent that the trial adjourn until 1 p.m. Wednesday, January 29th, and that this order also constitute the adjournment of the Senate.
Without objection, we're adjourned.
After adjourning, the divided GOP caucus follows Leader McConnell into a private meeting to strategize for the next day's trial and to discuss the question of witnesses. House impeachment managers quickly respond to the defense.
The bulk of Mr. Sekulow's argument was, this is merely a policy difference. No one believes that.
With both sides' opening arguments complete, the Senate turns to a 16-hour session of questions and answers spread over 2 days.
Thank you. I sent a question to the desk on behalf of Senator Patty Murray and myself.
Mr. Chief Justice, I send a question to the desk.
I send a question to the desk.
The pace of today, first of all, is incredibly different from the entire trial so far. It's quick. They get 5 minutes each side. There's a question from the Senate Republicans.
Why did the House of Representatives not challenge President Trump's claims of executive privilege?
And then a question from Senate Democrats.
Is there any way for the Senate to render a fully informed verdict in this case without hearing the testimony of Bolton, Mulvaney, and the other key eyewitnesses?
They didn't even subpoena John Bolton below.
Of course, we asked John Bolton to testify in the House, and he refused.
Brandon Cornyn, who's the longtime GOP whip, he said there aren't the votes there for witnesses. I actually think there's more cold water on the whole witness scenario right now in the GOP side.
All right, well.
So I think at this point, it's 10 a.m.? I think by the end of the day, the story could be support for witnesses.
Or
Rocky.
Or does Bolton drop some other card on the table? Okay. All right, cool. I'll see you. Give me 1 minute.
And if a president does something which he believes will help him get elected in the public interest, that cannot be the kind of quid pro quo that results in impeachment.
Substantively, today has been a little bit less partisan. They've gone into some deep legal issues here. And Alan Dershowitz sort of elongated on this legal theory that even if Trump did it, he wasn't guilty. Democrats were furious about it. Republicans have generally been very happy with Dershowitz because he sort of allows them to say, yeah, Trump did it. Trump did some stuff we don't really like, but it's not really impeachable.
That's what he said, Mr. Schumer. Whatever I want, here's who I want. I want Adam Schiff. I want Hunter Biden. I want Joe Biden. By the way, if we get anybody we want, we'll be here for a very long time.
We, the president's lawyers, are going to make this endless. If you have the unmitigated temerity to want witnesses in a trial, we will make you pay for it with endless delay.
The Senate adjourns after 93 questions have been asked, and they're only halfway through the Q&A period. Senators return for a final 8-hour question and answer session on Thursday.
Have you ever been involved in any trial, civil, criminal, or other, in which you were unable to call witnesses or submit relevant evidence?
The House could have pursued Ambassador Bolton. Even if he gave that testimony, the articles of impeachment still wouldn't rise to an impeachable offense.
Well, I will make an offer to opposing counsel who have said that this will stretch on indefinitely if you decide to have a single witness. Let's cabin the depositions to 1 week.
We got into some fireworks very quickly. Rand Paul wanted to ask a question about someone who he has alleged is the whistleblower, and they rejected the question.
The presiding officer declines to read the question as submitted.
And while the questions tackle a wide range of topics, the real question everyone is asking is whether Republicans will vote for or against calling witnesses to the trial. Several Republican senators begin to indicate they're in favor of witnesses.
I think it's increasingly likely that other Republicans will join those of us who think we should hear from John Bolton.
Democrats pin their hopes on 4 senators in particular: Susan Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Mitt Romney of Massachusetts, and Lamar Alexander of Tennessee. That night, President Trump holds a rally in Iowa.
It's a happy period because we call this impeachment light. This is light. Crazy shifty Schiff. He's a sick puppy. He's a sick puppy. But you know what? Today, you saw it, I hit my highest poll numbers since I got elected.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. All persons are commanded to keep silent on pain of imprisonment while the Senate of the United States is sitting for the trial of articles of impeachment exhibited by the House of Representatives against Donald John Trump, President of the United States.
On Friday, the Senate returns for final debate and then a vote on the witness question.
There was no precedent in a presidential impeachment inquiry to have open hearings where the president and his counsel were excluded. The Senate is not here to do the investigatory work that the House didn't do.
Do these articles, these allegations rise to the level of a sufficient for a removal of office for a duly elected president of the United States? It doesn't. And especially so when we are in an election year.
According to the New York Times, more than 2 months before he asked Ukraine's president to investigate his political opponents, President Trump directed John R. Bolton, then his national security advisor, to help with his pressure campaign to extract damaging information on Democrats from Ukrainian officials, according to an unpublished manuscript by Mr. Bolton.
After 51 Republicans vote not to bring in witnesses,
The yeas are 49, the nays are 51. The motion is not agreed to.
Democrats try to force several amendments that would subpoena Bolton and others.
I send an amendment to the desk to subpoena Mulvaney, Bolton, Duffy, Blair, and the White House, OMB, DOD, and State Department documents, and I ask that it be read.
Trump leaves Washington without speaking to reporters. Each of the amendments fails, and the Senate pushes a final vote on Trump's impeachment to next week.
And finally, I ask unanimous consent that the trial adjourn until 11 a.m., February 3rd, and that this order also constitute the adjournment of the Senate.
Without objection, so ordered. We are adjourned.
We have breaking news in the Slack channel of the Washington Post. They're going to come back in Monday for 6 hours of closing arguments. We are looking like a Wednesday vote. You will have then a series of incredible events: the Super Bowl on Sunday, the Iowa caucus on Monday, the State of the Union delivered Tuesday night in the House chamber. Trump will know that he's not going to be removed from office. He knows he will be acquitted. And then, boom, on Wednesday, we will have a vote that acquits Trump.